Peace, everybody. This Medicine Man once again, and we gonna have this Hoodoo live talk. You know what I mean? Um, this Hoodoo live talk is the one-on-one, man, the 101, a root working. You know me. For the most part, we definitely people ask the question all the time. What is root working? What is root working, Medicine Man? How do I start my path in root working? And being that I often get that question, the answer is usually you have to start within yourself. And then people ask, well, how? How? How do we start root working? The number one thing in root working in African American branded hoodoo is that we, as African Americans, we put our ancestors first. So the question comes about like, well, how do we implement our ancestors into our ritual work? We have to look at the degrees of ancestors first and answer that question. The number one thing about answering that question is we have different levels of ancestors. We have the small, what I call the familial ancestors, and these are the ones like our relatives and mama, daddy, sister, brother, cousin, uncle, aunts. Those are all on the business level. And then as we move up, we have more ancient ancestors inside our line. The thing is connecting with the right energy, the right ancestral force, the right person, and our bloodline. And we usually do that by identifying with our parents or grandparents, the most recent ones, the ones that walk with us in life, to the point to where we had a connection with them in life. So when we're connected with someone in life, then when they pass on into the ancestral and the spiritual realm, we still connected to them. So and this is where we begin our connection. Now it's like we're thinking about our grandparents and say, well, let's use our grandmother or grandfather in some prosperity work. How will we achieve something like that? Well, the first thing that we would do, or we should do, is work with the energy directly. Let's find something significant, a clothing item, a cup, a pen, a brush, a hat, whatever that belong, some item that belong to them, and we put that on our altar because you want to build that connection. When a person has something on their aura, the aura of their body, the aura of their whole spiritual makeup is absorbed into the fabric, into the clothing, because we are energy beings to where when we come close to an object, we share the energy space of that object at the same time. So we exchange energy with things we come in contact with. And this is why in root work we use clothes and stuff like that. So we take the item of our ancestor and we put it on our altar as a channeling center, as a channeling vortex, a center to where we can channel energy into and out of the ancestral realm and set it as a line of communication, because that person is connected to it. That's the first thing we do. Build the connection with the ancestor that we're working with. A lot of times people like to think about the ancient ancestors. We do work with them, but that's on a higher level. And in certain degrees, we don't need to go back to the ancient, because we can go way back to some very ancient ancestors and ancestral forces, because there's a difference between ancestors and ancestral forces. Ancestral forces are forces of nature that your ancestors conjured themselves from the astral plane, from other dimensions, and other worlds, so to speak. And these forces are all shared by the collective consciousness of all African people globally. What that means is that when we look at a specific entity, such as, for example, let's use Ogu in foreign Benin, voodoo, Ogu. Ogu is held in high esteem by millions and millions and millions and millions of people. So what happens is the level of consciousness that everybody possesses is instilled into the idea that Ogu is a powerful force. What it does on the astral plane and in the spirit world, it activates that force, that activates that energy. And that energy expands itself and becomes an even huger reality for the people that conceptualize it. So over thousands of years of conceptualization and held consciousness for thousands of years, what happens is that force, the Ogu, that force, becomes an entity that exists on its own, because it's not an entity that was created by a person. It's an entity or force that was created by a people. It's the difference. Okay? So from thousands of years of being collectively held into the consciousness of the people, this force becomes so strong and it's like tapped into even today's, still strong, still thriving, because we all still conceptualize this force one way or another, either by name or by phenomenon, and that's how it works. And this is part of the African-centered conceptualization of nature and natural forces, and even how the ancestors interact and where the ancestors actually play and within the presence of these natural forces. So that's part of working with the ancestors and part of working with the natural forces. That is the basis of Hoodoo. That is the basis of our root working. People think our basis of root working is, learning all these roots and herbs and all these formulas and put it together. That's another part of root working. But when we talk about Hoodoo, we talk about root working, we have to mention the ancestors first. Not a root, not an herb, the ancestors. Now, like I said, there are different levels. You have the family ancestors, then we have the more ancient remote ancestors. Now, even in between the family and ancient and remote ancestors, we have the national ancestors. Something that we often overlook. We often overlook the national ancestors. So here's how this goes. We have the Malcolm X's, we have the Marcus Garveys, we have the Trayvon Martins, we have the Emmett Tills, we have all of the different national spirits. That's right. These people are national spirits that belong to our national ancestry as a nation of people. This is the African conceptualization also. There were national leaders and people who in African societies who all had a significant role in society. So when they passed, when these people was passed, these people were so-called deified, but they were venerated. Their spirits were venerated for the greatness that they'd done in life or for whatever happened to them, as a remembrance that we will never let these things happen again. So when we deify people like Malcolm X, we deify the idea, we deify the consciousness, we deify the spiritual force and element of who Malcolm X was. We deify the energy. And we conjure this energy and use this energy for specific reasons. You see? And this is how Malcolm X has become a national deity to many Hoodoo practitioners. Marcus Garvey, for that reason, has become a national deity for many liberational figures that practice root working. You see? And there's a whole lot, man, a lot more people that died in America that gave up their life and their blood for the liberation of black people in America and for political, social, and even religious reasons. They gave up their lives. And for that reason, they enter into the realm of the ancestors. You see? Now, one of the main things that kind of hurt a lot of people out of today hurt us for the most part, is that we allow other people to identify what's a national holiday, like Martin Luther King birthday and stuff like that. We allow other people to identify that for us. Tell us, okay, this day y'all going to remember Martin Luther King. I don't have much to say about that part, other than the fact that Martin Luther King, in some people's eyes, is considered a martyr, and in some people's eyes, he's not. I'm not here to debate that. Not my question. I would say that there is a significant reason to acknowledge all Black social leaders who died for the struggle one way or another, without getting into the details and the specifics of what they really supported or theologies and stuff like that. But I would say that we should acknowledge all of them, from all the Thurgood Marshalls to everybody, acknowledge them, because this is the power that our ancestors pull on. We pull on the power of greatness. And in one way or another, if people were great, then we should pull on that power of greatness and correct it. Correct the power of greatness that we pull on, because not everything that our ancestors did was right and exact for even our own progression today. I mean, our ancestors had brains, they had thoughts, and they made decisions. Not every decision that was made was made that benefited us as a whole, but for the most part, we hold that the decisions that were made with at least the idea that we could progress from it. Even if we did or not, we would think that we just could progress. So, and this is our ancestors thought. They went through trial and error. We all went through trial and error in life, and trial and error is something that we all go through. When it comes to life and definitely dealing with the ancestor energies, from the altars to our own personal life, some people like to carry their ancestral energies on them. And this is the purpose of the mojo bag for them. So I'm looking around, see if I got one by me, but I don't. Let me see, have I got one over there? No. But carrying a mojo bag. Now you can carry a mojo bag on you with all the elements of your ancestral altar within that bag. Some people prefer to do things like that, because when you do, you have it on you, it's feeling your vibrations, and that's on your body. And then when you want to use it, you can do certain things. You know what I mean? You can talk to your bag, you spit on your bag and then talk to it. You can blow some smoke on it, then talk to it, blow some liquor on it, take your little mini bottle, put it in your pocket, and drink it, blow some liquor on it and talk to it. Pray on it. Say Bible verses on it. It's so many things you can do, but carrying your ancestral altar with you inside of a bag. Different elements of different things that you would have on your altar. You can even put water in there. Take a little capsule, get you one of those capsules, put rainwater or river water or whatever water you're using, put it in the capsule, drop it inside of the bag. You can put your dirts in there. Put your dirts in there, and you can kind of just put all your elements in there. Your pitchers, smaller pitchers, put your pitchers in there. You know what I mean? And whatever ingredient, consecrate and get the bag done. And actually carry your altar with you. So you can use the power of your ancestors with while you're going a job interview or something like that. You can be sitting in the waiting room with your bag in your hand. You can be praying on the blow, just blowing on it, speaking to it, and work with your spirits like that on a more closer, intimate level. So that's the kind of more of a difference from having a physical altar versus carrying your altar on you, like inside of a mojo bag or whatever. All right, let me see. Y'all have any questions while I'm out there? Let me see if anybody got any questions. No? Great. All right, hold up. There we go. So another thing, man, when we talking about Hoodoo 101, without kind of going too far, we talk about Hoodoo 101, it's like, what are we talking about? Where are we trying to go? Okay, we covered the aspect briefly about the ancestors and working with them. Now, I'm going to tell you now, working with the ancestors is one part. Working with the dead is another part. Working with roots and herbs is another part. So like 3 parts. At least how I conceive it. The ancestors, which is considered the dead, but specific dead. You know, that's the dead that's strictly you, your bloodline. And then there's the random dead. You know, working with the random dead is totally different from working with your ancestors. They're two totally different things. That's why when people say, well, Mr. Man, can I get some graveyard dirt? No, you shouldn't. I mean, you can do whatever you want to do, but you shouldn't go to a random grave grabbing dirt and thinking just because you're going to leave an offering there in the same manner that you would leave an offering at your, you know, at one of your relative grave, that you're going to get the same response or the same effect. I always tell people, when you go to a grave, no matter if it's your family member or a random person, you need to learn how to do readings. You can't just go grab things and not know if it's accepted, or, you know, you have to get an answer. So that's very important. So but taking dirts and stuff, you know, you have to know what you're doing when you're pulling and talking and communicating and dealing with your blood ancestors versus dealing with random. So when we're talking about the ancestors, there's a part of Hoodoo that deals with, like I said, the ancestors. Then there's a part of Hoodoo that deals with the random dead. Then there's a part of Hoodoo that deals with roots and herbs. You see? Those are basically the three parts that I know of. The three parts, the roots and herbs. Now, even within all those three parts, you got different sides, because you deal with your ancestors. You can deal with your ancestors. You should only deal with your ancestors for guidance. You see? I know a lot of times people say, well, your ancestors are ready for war, ready for war. Yeah, they're ready for war. They're ready to destroy all the ignorance inside of me and you. That's the war that your ancestors fight. The betterment of you. The betterment of the bloodline. You know, the Naga, of course I know about the Nagas. Of course. The Nagas were is definitely a whole science within their own self. And it's mainly, you know, the black Africans who migrated down into parts of Dravidia in India, ancient India. Interesting history about the ancient Dravidians, you know, who fathered all of the texts about the Nagas and Sanskrit texts and stuff like that. But it deals with the serpents, the serpent spirits. And that's something that's very, very deep when we're talking about the serpent spirits, because the serpent spirits have always been present, very extremely present in global history. You know, what we are often more familiar with is our beginning knowledge of bringing back the serpent is from the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the Bible, where it talks about the serpent beguiled man and beguiled the woman, in fact, and the woman beguiled the man, and said that the serpent was on the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the tree of life, the Kabbalah. You see, that serpent, when you translate it into the 7 chakras, we're talking about the 7 energy levels, the 7 parts of the human body. Really, real talk, the 7 parts of the human body, not vortexes, but parts of the body. Different systems in your body are represented by a chakra. So when we talk about the serpent, it talks about the kundala, the serpent energy rising from the base, the Muladhara chakra to the Sushahara chakra, from here all the way up, all the way to the top. You see, and that rising, a lot of times people interpret it as sexual energy, the rising of the serpent power, sexual energy. So that's why people in the Naga culture, it appears that when we do the historical research and we look at it, it just really appears that it's a really sexual culture, really sexual people, because of the Naga energy. But for the most part, when we look at ancient Kemet and we see the snake, the cobra, and the hawk right there on top of the crown of the pharaoh, it represents wisdom and strength for the most part. Wisdom, strength, and vision. The snake, definitely, the cobra is wisdom. You know, so that's something that is definitely, I would say, a real strong part of our collective ancestral history is about the Nagas and the snakes. Animals are, animals alive or dead that can be worked with for the most part. It just depends on on your perspective and how you look at it. Animals, because I'm reading this question that says, are animals considered random dead? Yes. When they're dead, yes. Unless you have your own personal animal, like if your own personal, like your dog or your cat die, then you should bury them in a specific place and work with their energy. Go back and get their bones when you bury your animal and let it stay down there for 2 or 3 weeks. When you go back, it should be all bones, all decomposed down to bones. And then you take the skull of your animal bone, your cat or your dog, and there's certain things you can do with it to work with the spirit of your animal. And that's what I be talking about when I say talking about totem animals and the parts of hoodoo that's missing. Because there was a time in our culture when people had animals, and your family pet died. It's the same perception with the humans. But I won't get into that part. But when your family animal dies, you bury your family animal in a specific place, and then you go back certain amount of time and you go do certain things to call on the spirit of the animal, call that spirit animal back. And once you call that spirit animal back, you get pieces of their bones, specific parts of their bones, and you go take it and you go work with it as a totem animal. And people use those spirits as protectors. You see? You have to remember, your dog dies, your dog goes to the spirit world, it becomes its power becomes magnified. Because the power of its spirit is not contained within the body of the animal anymore. Just like how we become stronger in the spirit world when we die and go on, because our spirit is no longer contained in the body. All right? Okay, let's see. When will your next class be? My next class is going to be announced later today. I'm working on Swamp Water Roots, getting this thing integrated into my website. So once I have it integrated to my website, should be today. We're going to announce the next class. It's going to be dope. The next class, I think, is going to be the air element class. I wanted to do the fire first, but the fire I'm going to do last. So here's what I'm going to do. Everybody that took my last classes, we're going to bring everybody. We're going to bring everybody back in who already took the class for $40. And everybody else, the new registrants, they're $65 for this class. $65 for the class, $40 for the previous class takers, people who took the class previously. And we are going to rock and roll, most definitely. I'll announce it later today about when the class is going to be held. But we definitely going to get into the air element. I mean, the one that's blowing like crazy. I want to do part of it outside, so I'm going to do a video because I know I can't get it right with the live. So I'm going to keep going out there this week and get a video element part of it. And it's going to be a two-part. Part of it is going to be video, and the other part is going to be live. And we're going to talk about trapping and containing air elements and using that in your work, how to work with it, how to contain it, how to use it. Most of the air is going to come from out of us. You know what I mean? I know a few other things about trapping air elements outside in the element. So we're going to do that also. And we're going to get a lot of understood about using the air element, because part of using air is putting your ashe on it. A lot of us don't know how to put our ashe on our work. We know how to mix the work. We know how to do the work, pray on it, but really put our ashe, work with the air element is definitely channeling. There's a lot of things you can do. We do like this here over something, because you're mixing up the air just around it. You're mixing up the air element. You mix up the air element around it. So we're going to work on some of those things, some of those exercises, and I'm going to show y'all how to work with the air element. Definitely in the next class. All right, let me see. I'm looking at some more questions. Let me see. Are individuals connected to specific animals? Of course you are. When you have a family pet, definitely connected to them. Is it always best to make your own mojo bags and oils if you have training? If you have training, yeah, definitely. If you have the training, if you know exactly what you're doing, if you have to ask one question about something that you're doing, then you're probably not ready for it. I mean, that question is about indecisiveness, and you don't want to bring that energy into your ritual work. Part of approaching your ritual work is approaching it with confidence, knowing what you know, and to do what you need to do with the right amount of force. You see what I'm saying? Right amount of emotion, right of willpower. You definitely want to have the right training, making a more difference between putting some grass in a bag versus putting power into a bag. Um, like I say, and a lot of people think about formulas. Not about formulas for the most part. It is, but it ain't. It is, but it ain't. It's more about concentrating on the energies that you raise from within yourself and you channel from the earth when you build anything in Hoodoo. Yeah, for the most part. All right. Does it matter if someone is being cremated? No, no. I know plenty of people who work with the ashes of their relatives. Trust me. I mean, you can make certain powders and stuff like that. With the right things, of course. Certain ingredients you don't want to mix with your ancestor ashes. I'm not going to sit there and tell you nothing on that. But I'm telling you, there are certain things. Someone who really knows what they're doing. If you have any ashes and you want to work with it with your ancestors, who can guide you, an ancestral priest or a really good, somebody you can talk to. Trust me. And you can definitely use the ashes of a relative for change in your life. Definitely. Do people take on characteristics of certain animals? You know, Someone asked me a while ago, said, man, can we get the spirit? Can a person be possessed by animal spirit? And I'm like, sure, of course. Of course you can. There's a part of, like I say, root working, where let's say perhaps I have a goat, and I do a certain thing with this goat, and I work with this goat spirit, and I send a goat spirit upon you. It jumps on you. Now you acting like a donkey all month. All month you're just doing wild animalistic things and acting like a goat, or so to say. It takes on the nature of the animal, not the animal itself. Like you running around on four legs, but it's more or less like you taking on the characteristics, the mental capacity of an animal, not thinking clearly and acting irrational from a humanistic perspective is concerned. So, it can happen, and there are people that do that. People can take the spirit of a baboon upon you and have you it'll disturb your spirit because, it's like you are a human spirit and somebody throw animal spirit to jump on top of your spirit inside of you is just going to cause a lot of emotional chaos within you. And you're going to be acting very erratic, or that person's going to be acting very erratic. So yes, that can happen. Let's see, look at another one, another question. All right, so we don't got no more questions. I don't see no more questions out here in the queue. So, all right. No more questions out in the queue. All right, that's all, y'all. Y'all be good. This medicine man. I'll announce the class for everybody. When the class is coming through, when we're gonna do it, which would be sometime within the next 2 weeks. With next 2 weeks, we're gonna have the class. I'll announce it a little later. Y'all be good. Swamp Water Roots Institute. We're gonna be dedicated to teaching this year coming up. It's real talk. We will definitely be dedicated to teaching this year coming up. Definitely. Y'all hear me? We like I'm getting a website together right now where we can kind of design. We got everything coming in, designing this whole thing and getting put the platform in there so we can be able to teach. I'll be educating everybody on how we're going to be doing it. As far as the registration, I'm going to get it to where we can register. We get in. When we end, we end. We're going to be in and we're going to be live in there every week. We're going to be in there every day. Swamp Water Roots Institute is going to be live in effect. You know what I mean? And hopefully we have it up and ready before Christmas, but definitely by the new year, we have the whole institute up and running, and we be ready to roll and get this root work and knowledge out there. We're going to be dealing with a lot of other things too. For my people that have warriors, man, we got some great Babalaos that's going to come through, some brothers that's going to come through and teach, man, and show people how to work with their warriors. We got, we got some people in Paulo that's going to be coming through, and we're going to be discussing a lot of conversations about Mayombe. And we got some brothers in Africa that's going to be coming through, talking about, what's going on there in Africa with the Bantu religious cosmology and systems and stuff, and how do they think about it in this relation to root working and hoodoo in America, man. It's going to be dope. You know what I mean? We're going to do a documentary this year coming up. The documentary we're going to do in Africa. Yeah, we're going to do a documentary in Africa. And we also going to do a documentary in Cuba. We also going to do a documentary in Ghana, man. I say Africa, then I come back and say Ghana, man. Ghana is like, whoo, they got it going on over there, man. So I got to mention Ghana by name. You know what I mean? Ghana and Brazzaville. We're going to do documentaries out there, man. I've talked to Sangoma priest in Brazzaville, the Omungangas over there, man. I talk to them like on a daily basis. And we are going over to Brazzaville, Congo next year. Next summer, Swamp Water Roots will be there live. You know what I mean? We ain't even playing. We're going to be there live, man, in the bush. You know what I mean? I done got a couple of brothers in the bush waiting on me to come over there, and we're going to talk, and we're going to build. And we're going to see the connections, man, between what we're doing in America with this root working on a powerful level. We're going to show people that what we doing here, them brothers doing in Africa doing a very similar thing to what we doing. As connected as we have been led to believe. And we're going to show people that we are connected. And we're going to try to reinstitute a lot of our cultural ways of our ancestors back into our practices. And we're going to restructure our root working in a way that we're going to make it very strong and very applicable to us. You know what I mean? Like Fubu, for us, by us, this is what we're going to do with our root working. Fubu, for us, by us, this is what we're going to do with our Ifa. Fubu, for us, by us, this is what we're going to do with our Apollo. You know what I mean? We're going to take it back to Africa, reconnect the dots, and we're going to get it back official the way it should be for us. You know what I mean? For us. It makes sense in the African paradigm for African people. Peace, this Medicine Man. I'll talk to y'all soon.